Shalom. Call hello, Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahushai, Bahasham, Rakah, Quadash. Double honors unto the apostles, double honors unto the elder bishops. Salutations to all my fellow laborers doing this work in truth and sincerity, risking their lives and their freedom to do so, now more so than never. The would-be judges, the 144,000, the tabernacle of David, who are going to set up the kingdom of heaven under the order of Melchizedek here on earth as it is in heaven, right? Under the authority of who the world fraudulently and falsely calls JC, like this white lion racist pastor. This is a piece of shit on the screen here. All right, and to the rest of the scattered elect that are scattered around the four corners of the earth, that be like unto the speckled bird, the Israelite foreigners among the heathen nations. They have the appearance of the heathen nations. Even unfortunately, some Israelites are going to come looking like this clown. And to the rest of the Akwath that are listening and learning, to you, I say Shalom. This is your brother Malcolm from the branch of the Great Millstone here in Chicago, coming at you with a brutal lesson in truth and a harsh correction on the fraud, which is whiteness, which is really made up. It's a made up social construct, same as blackness, something that they made up to hide from their true identity. They label themselves white when they're not white. They're actually red. That's just as the Bible describes the nation of Edom. And Israelites are brown, different shades of brown, not actually black. No one is actually black. Even the darkest Hamites and Elamites are still brown, dark chocolate brown, some of them, but still brown. No one's skin is actually black. All right, so that's a convenient lie that they've hid behind for way too long. Let's go to the scripture. This is 2nd Ezra 6:27. You can never get tired of hearing this one. And it reads, "For evil shall be put out, and deceit shall be quenched. As for faith, it shall flourish. Corruption shall be overcome. And the truth, which have been so long without fruit, shall be declared. This man has ruled in lies and in falsehood and fraud ever since he came back into power." All right? The second leg or the last leg of the Roman Empire. All right? These Edomites have been lying. Is that Psalms 53:8, I believe? I think it's 53:8. Was it 58:3? Yeah. Yeah, 58:3. The Psalms 58:3. "The wicked are estranged from the womb. They go astray as soon as they be born, speaking lies." Right? And this man probably has a doctorate or some sort of degree. And you know that the word doctor literally means to falsify, to lie. Now you doctor something up. There's a difference between a physician or a healer and an actual doctor. And this proud liar, you know, and then it's funny how Esau gets so angry. I saw a thumbnail where they had two brown-skinned elves, and they're saying Hollywood never recovered from, you know, trying to show equality. They never recovered, as if, you know, it was just something bad to see elves with brown skin. When the thing is during the Middle Ages, when castles and things were being built, Negroes were ruling in Europe. All right, this is a German tapestry here. All right, from the 14th century, where the Moors, who were Israelites, were fighting wild men who were Edomites. Okay, the wild men with their sticks and staffs and sharpened sticks attacking the castle. 14th century German tapestry. All right. 16th century image of a Portuguese explorer. And I guess J.A. Rogers put this in one of his books. All right? So these Edomites have been lying about history and lying about who they are. You know? These guys. Because he fixed his lips to say, well, let's listen to him.
If slavery never happened, then you would be in a grass hut. Yeah. All right, well, we need reparations. Your reparations are that you get to live in America. You're welcome. You're welcome. You get that.
You're welcome. You hear this proud, lying piece of shit? This red dog. This inferior man. Let's see what the history shows you. No, well, history shows something different. Because these brown people are living in a castle, wearing garments down to their foot with fringes on the bottoms, with mitres on. These were Israelites, not Africans, but Israelites. You know, those Africans are a different dark race of people. For anyone who might be new, let's produce a receipt. See, in the Young's Bible Dictionary and in the Zondervan's Bible Dictionary, it gives you information like so. And it tells you Ham, the youngest son of Noah, the progenitor, meaning the father of the dark races, but not the Negroes. Well, the truth of the matter is Japhet and Shem were dark too. All right, but it's telling you that the Negroes were not Hamites. See? But the Egyptians, Ethiopians, Libyans, and Canaanites, all throughout Western Asia, what they fraudulently call the Middle East today, the sons of Canaan and Cush were all in that area. And guess what? They built castles. So let's listen to this lying piece of shit again. This pastor, I believe he is.
If slavery never happened, then you would be in a grass hut. Yeah. All right, well, we need reparations. Your reparations are that you get to live in America. You're welcome. You're welcome.
You get to have the Christian religion.
That's
live
right.
better than your ancestors.
The greatest moment in history for any brown or black country is the moment that the white man's ships arrive on your shore.
Let me tell you.
So, let's let Esau cuss him out. But this Edomite, or this man who definitely fits the description of Esau biblically, who might actually be Jake. All right? You know, a lot of them Bible-thumping Edomites or Edomite-looking people in the South, a lot of them are Jake, man. All right? Because the thing is, it's just like I was listening to the apostles speak, because I'm going to profile Apostle Gabar's video while he was profiling Elder Apostle Tahar's video. But a lot of those, because the truth of the matter is that Edomites don't believe in the Bible at all. The only time they really get into the Bible is when they're trying to control a narrative or deceive people. All right? So, but this man genuinely had gripes with this pastor. So I'll let him speak. It's just a short anyway.
About what black people suffered through after those white men's ship arrived on their shores. They got hundreds of years.
Now let me correct something, too, out the gate. There's no such thing as white people. All right? You can see his skin is not white. The hair on the side of his face is white. His skin is red, just as the Bible describes Esau, Edom, and the first came out red all over. All right? Edomites are actually pinkish in flesh, and they're not white at all. Okay? That's something that was made up and written into law in 1681 in Virginia. Prior to 1681, there was no documentation of anybody being a white race. That's something that they made up to control the narrative, and thus was born shortly thereafter the fraudulent concepts of white superiority. There isn't any such thing as white people. It's made up. So there's no power and there's no benefit in being this way. You can't even go in the sun. All right?
Of enslavement, oppression, abuse, torture, murder, rape. Not only did black former slaves get nothing after emancipation, President Andrew Johnson, a white Southerner, he made certain that white enslavers were made whole. Reparations, but not for former slaves, reparations for rich white slave owners. After the Civil War, blacks were kept poor, systematically poor, and with almost zero ability to grow wealth. Thousands of black prisoners were leased by southern states to former white enslavers in what were called convict leases, where blacks...
So they made up laws of vagrancy and loitering and different things because slavery was made illegal unless you got arrested. So they put you in slavery that way. That, you know, them songs, The Chain Gang, the movie Life, which is a funny movie, but yet a very sad movie. Okay, a very sad movie because things like that actually happen. And what this piece of shit right here, let's go back to the piece of shit. Let's go back. This proud piece of shit right here. Mr. Boo Boo here. We'll just call him Mr. Boo Boo. He knows nothing. He doesn't know history. And actually, he probably does know history. He just chooses to lie about it. Because Esau Edom is the only race of people, only people I know who are comfortable living with the lie. They're comfortable getting the first place trophy when they did nothing to earn it. And what he's not acknowledging, because if I remember correctly, you know, this video dropped about 3 weeks ago. And this guy said all this proud shit. And it made me angry, but it was so much on my plate, I'm just now getting to it. All right? But what he doesn't know, what he's not talking about, is the fact that the Israelites, these brown people, were cursed of the Lord for disobedience. And as a result of that, they got scattered to the four corners of the earth and placed under curses where they would be beneath and under the control of their captors, who took them and scattered them throughout the world through ships. So when he boldly spoke about how the white man showed up in ships, well, that's scriptural. And he didn't do this on his own power. The Lord set him up. The Lord allowed him to do this because we're clearly stronger and better than them. We can sing, dance, fuck, lift, out in mathematics, whatever it is that they do, we do better when given the same opportunity and the same training. We outdo them in everything, which is why they systematically set up systems to oppress and keep us down. All right, but this is the book of Daniel 4 and 17. This is why Mr. Boo Boo is so proud. All right, and he's the worst type of you. This dude is a Mr. Boo Boo asshole. All right. Daniel 4 and 17. This matters by the decree of the watchers and the demand that the word of the holy ones, to the intent that the living may know that the Most High ruleth in the kingdom of men, and giveth it to whomsoever he will, and set up over it the basis of men. So he took this low life Mr. Boo Boo, this piece of shit, and set them up over in control of the earth for the last, because the Lord returns when Yahushua comes back. He returns to a world ruled by the Edomites, all right, to finish his war with Amalek, who's the first of the nations. Now, I don't know if he's one of these Edomites who supports Amalek, or if he's one of these racist Edomites who hate Amalek, you know, because it's like, y'all the same people. You know, I just watched some video of some KK rally. Some white guy screaming out he hate niggas and Jews and spics, and he don't need a reason to hate them. He just hate them just because. Then what he said, take a white man, take a stand, join the Klan. Some shit he said. I'm just laughing at this fool. So I'm like, and then they screaming, white power, white power. And I'm like, fool, you dumb ass ninjas. There's no such thing as white people. Your forefathers made that shit up. All right? Made it up. It's not real. You'll Edom. And you ducking and dodging your Edomite history. The time of that is over. This is Baruch 4 and 37. I'm going to start at 36. And it reads, O Jerusalem, look about thee toward the east, and behold, the joy that cometh unto thee from God. Lo, thy sons come, who thou sendest away. They come gathered together from the east and to the west by the word of the Holy One, rejoicing to the glory of God. So it is the word that is gathering us together and enlightening us and letting us know exactly who we are. Okay? Baruch 4:6. You were sold to the nations, not for your destruction, but because you moved God to wrath. You were delivered unto your enemies. See, so the people who actually went into slavery were the special people to the Lord, and it was their punishment. And then it's warned to them who distribute the punishment. The Lord used you as the whooping stick, and now he's going to punish you for being the whooping stick. The joke is on you, Mr. Boo Boo. All right, this asshole. Right, you the worst type of ass. One that's not white, but just nasty. All right, unclean, unshowered. So that's why things like this are happening.
So I see once again we've had it put into our face that white folks, we are the problem. We're the problem. We're the problem. Our refusal to honestly deal with our history of hatred, racism, genocide is a problem. Our inability to...
The name of the video is at the bottom of the screen. All right, the other two were just shorts, just YouTube shorts, random shorts. But this video, the name of the video is at the bottom of the screen, because someone is always going to ask, you know, I need to see this link. You watching this video. What you need to, are you going to do a lesson?
See where the unhealthiness of our culture is the problem. Our inability to see how racism and Christianity all tied up in together is a problem.
Yep.
Is the problem. And the big...
Because Christianity is not biblical. Right? They don't follow the Bible. They don't honor the Bible. They don't honor what it says. Right? And they mistreat the people of the book. So let us start again.
How's everybody doing today? So I see once again we've had it put into our face that white folks, we are the problem. We're the problem. We're the problem. Our refusal to honestly deal with our history of hatred, racism, genocide is a problem. Our inability to see where the unhealthiness of our culture is the problem. Our inability to see how racism and Christianity all tied up in together is a problem, is the problem. And the biggest problem is that we do not see we are the problem. God bless everyone. Have a beautiful afternoon.
Hey, look, y'all need to stop saying God bless America, pray for America. America is cursed.
There's a reason that America feels cursed. From its beginning to its present, this so-called Christian nation has been drenched in blood, greed, and spiritual filth. What we're seeing today, the chaos, division, addiction, violence, it isn't random. It's divine consequence. As Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, corrupt.
It is divine consequence. Deuteronomy 30:7. And the Lord thy power will put all these curses upon thy enemies and upon them that hate thee, which persecute thee. You see, the curses that plagued us are now falling upon them. Let's give an example of one of those curses that actually allowed Esau, Edom, to get wealthy and put him in a position where he could just reprint all the books and lie about actual history and cover up information like this. Okay? You know, guys like Mr. Boo Boo. Okay? But this is Deuteronomy 28 and 43. And this was applied mainly by Mr. Boo Boo's people. Right? Both Amalek and Esau. Amalek at the head of it. The stranger that is within thee shall get above thee very high, and thou shalt come down very low. All right, so all these other foreigners and other Edomites and heathens come to Babylon, which is America, and they are able to come here and get homes and loans and monies for businesses and all that sort of thing to get set up when the Israelites can't and don't get those things. All right, and that's showing favor to a certain extent. All right, he shall lend to thee, and thou shalt not lend to him. He shall be the head, and thou shalt be the tail. So who can? And that's Amalek's department. He controls and runs all the banks. He decides who gets the loans, the house loans. So all this systemic racism, redlining, things of that nature. But they were able to control all of that, to keep resources out of certain neighborhoods, to create ghettos, removing the father from the house, the railroad, that railroad from school right to the private prisons. Okay. It says, moreover, all these curses shall come upon thee and pursue thee and overtake thee till thou be destroyed, because thou hearkenest not unto the voice of Yahweh thy power to keep his commandments and his statutes which he commanded thee. And they shall be upon thee for a sign and for a wonder, and upon thy seed forever. So the people that are upon those curses, the curses are on them, are actually a sign to identify who the Israelites are, because Mr. Boo Boo and his people, they haven't been under those curses until now. And with a 500 plus year head start, and all the crooked, all the, like he's giving you, all the false and fraudulent, false Edomite, whitewashed history, and they're still coming up short and have to do podcasts where they just, feed the dumbasses, the dumb other pieces of shit that listen to Mr. Boo Boo and believe his bullshit. They actually believe they're white. The sides of the screen here are white. No one's skin is that color. All right? He's wearing a white shirt. Look at his face and his neck and look at his shirt. They are not one and the same. If he was white, then he would blend together. He'd be like a damn, you just see glasses and a mustache, and a beard. Now, you've heard me say so many times about the history of the Dark Ages, the history of the medieval times. And so Mr. Boo Boo said that, if it wasn't for the white man showing up in his ships, you still be living in huts. Okay? Just totally disregarding all the infrastructure. Most of those buildings that people, like in Florence and different parts of Portugal and Spain and all over Europe, Slovenia, a lot of those buildings that people go vacation to see weren't built by white people. Especially all those so-called white people, especially all those castles throughout Ireland, Scotland, and Britain. Those were built by the Israelites. All right? So we're going to join Apostle Elder Gabar and the portion of his video. You can see the name of the video at the bottom of the screen. All right? It's on Daily Edification 4. All right? Discernment of the spirits. It is a gift not given to every Israelite. Definitely not to Captain Tazaria, because, I don't think it was given to what's his name? Now I can't even think of the elder's name. So I remember a video going back about at least 12, 13 years ago when that Korean guy walks up to his house. damn. His name is on the edge of my tongue, and I can't. But anyway, you know, the Holy Spirit and the spirit of discernment, it was not given to every Israelite. No, so it's much more to this than just knowing that you're an Israelite, right? You can't have you don't have the discernment to discern spirits. It's a chance that the Lord may not really be working with you, right? He might just be using you, you know, and the Lord does that. Same way he used Saul, right? Saul did things that helped advance Israel, but then Saul also got discarded. And, you know, that's why you should pray and try to be on point so that you don't get discarded. But here we go.
When dealing with that individual that called, there it is right here. And over the years, they've changed the flag. They make the cartoons, they make them look more Edomitish. See that? They changed it. Now, it used to have picky Negro hair. I'll show you. And I even did a video on that. The flag of Sardinia.
Thick lips.
Mori Quartry, right?
Well, at least they still said they were Moors, but they did change their facial features as you.
Look at that.
Yeah.
Show you how much they've changed it throughout the years. The oldest certified heraldic symbol of the cross of St. George with 4 Moors in each quarter, known as the cross of Alcaraz, dates back to 1281 AD.
So this proves what we keep telling you. Despite Esau making Valhalla and Viking this and Viking show that and the last kingdom, and he always have these white people playing the Vikings and so-called white people being the so-called white people that were the serfs and the servants. Here were your ruling class people on the screen in front of you during the medieval times, during the Dark Ages. All right?
Now look at how it looks. Big change from this to this. Big change. Clearly you can see that those are so-called Negroes. How do you get a so-called white man? Look at the hair. Look at the hair, people. How do you get a so-called white man out of that?
Because Esau Edom is a liar.
Hold up. Bring that back. Look at that. 1281 AD. And we tell you that so-called black people was ruling around that time. Esau wants to hide that information. He can't hide it any longer. This is on the island of Sardinia. And I believe Sardinia is one of the blue zones. The people that live the longest is Sardinia, one of the blue zones. Is Sardinia one of the blue zones? Yeah, there we go. Yes, Sardinia is a blue zone, a region recognized for its high concentration of people who live to be over 100 years old. That's it. That's what is meant by the blue zone. So you saw the flag, right?
So we go back to
the video on that, the flag of Sardinia, Mori Quartry, to 1281 AD. It was so-called white. Look at the hair. Look.
So this is Job 13 and 4. But yeah, forgers of lies, you're all physicians of no value. You can't believe anything. The history that you learn in school is all whitewashed, controlled. JPS, Jewish Publication Society. Amalekite and Edomite lies. All right? That's all it is. Amalekite and Edomite lies. Because they have to push that narrative to try to, because if you take that away, that proves too many truths, uncomfortable truths that they don't want to acknowledge. And what this really comes down to is just them trying to hide who they are. Ben Franklin wrote a letter about this. You know, you read the 23rd and the 24th paragraph of his letter from 1751, and he talks about the matter of fact, I'll just read some of it. Maybe grab another scripture and wrap this up. But that letter from 1751, the betterment of mankind, or something he called. So the betterment, according to him, was basically to make the world more white than swarthy or tawny. All right, which is referring to skin color, complexion. This is paragraph 23 and 24 of Ben Franklin's letter from 1751. And now you've just seen evidences from the 12th and the 14th century of the presence of ruling class Negroes in Europe who built castles, and a lot of those buildings that you go visit when you go to Portugal and Spain, in different parts of England and Ireland, you know, all over. As I'm about to read this list, so-called black people were ruling. They weren't Africans. These were Israelites that were scattered from the diaspora, all right, from the Edomites the first time. You know, when the change came, when they turned from the pagan Roman Empire into the Holy Roman Empire. You can even look up when, you know, the black Caesars and emperors, and it'll, you know, start calling them African emperors and whatever, but they'll actually talk about it, you know, including you know, Septimius Severus, Porcinius Niger, even Commodus and his father from the movie Gladiator. They lied. So that time period, Negroes were ruling. And then they had the nerve to get mad when Denzel was in the second one, and more people that were brown. You know, I don't know how many thousands of times we have to prove to you that Rome and different parts of Western Asia, the part that they're Eurasia, the part they started calling Europe, all right, to why? To support this fraudulent new made up white superiority thing, all right, that those were major metropolises, like being in Chicago or New York. All people were there in Rome during the time of the Lord, before the Lord, after the Lord. But this is paragraph 23 from the said letter from Ben Franklin, and from 1751. And it reads, "And find a nation regulated like a polypus, take away a limb in its place." So actually, I'm just jump down to the second paragraph. "And since detachments of English from Britain sent to America will have their places at home so soon supplied and increased so largely here, why should the Palatine Boers be suffered to swarm into our settlement?" Now, let me give you the evidence that Boers talking about pigs, all right, and you had the black Iberian pigs, okay, because in the definition of Moreno, okay, a Spanish Portuguese Jew in the late Middle Ages who converted to Christianity, all right, especially forcibly converted, but secretly adhering to the Bible, not Judaism, From the Spanish, literally pig, with reference to Israelites. He say that's what they do. And remember that JS word is an Israelite hijack, because they've connected Amalek to that. Prohibition against eating a pig meat. Well, they were calling them pigs because that's what the Iberian pigs look like. They're actually black in complexion, so it was an insult more than anything else. That's why he called them the Palatine Boers, that they were from Palestine, from that area. He's calling these blacks that were in Germany in different parts Boers, okay? Pigs. It says, why should the Palatine Boers be suffered to swarm into our settlements, he's talking about here in America, and herding together, establish their language, manners, to their exclusion of ours? Why should Pennsylvania, founded by the English, become colonies of aliens who will shortly be so numerous as to Germanize us instead of us Anglifying them, proving that they were Germans? No. He's talking about these Germans right here. It's this tapestry where these Negroes were living in these castles, fighting off the wild men, all right? Because that's what they did. They took these men, these bearded wild men, and they tried to make them the Vikings. They mixed the wild men's history with then with Viking history and make them white on paper, on film, all right? They were the wildmans coming down out of the caves. Jake was the civilized ones living in the castles that they built. And piece of shit here lied about it, boldly and proudly. You'd be living in huts if it wasn't for us, for Christianity. Shut your piece of shit. Okay? So, it says, as to Germanize us instead of us Anglifying them as if they were the Anglo-Saxons. Well, you know what? They are sons of Isaac. They're not the sons of Jacob, though. That's the problem. And we will adopt and will never adopt our language or customs any more than they can acquire our complexion. So this is just hatred for the swarthy and tawny skin of the so-called Negro, Latino, and Native American. Paragraph 24, which leads me to one remark, that the number of purely white people in the world are proportionally very small. All of Africa is black or tawny, all right? Asia chiefly tawny. America, exclusive of the newcomers, meaning the so-called white people, wholly so. So he's saying that Asia, Africa are black, tawny, swarthy people, all right? And in Europe, the Spaniards, Italians, French, Russian, Swedes, listen closely, are generally of what we call the swarthy complexion. Swarthy is another way of saying this man, this Portuguese man here, is swarthy. Today you'd call him black, even though he's brown, because you're dumb. All right? It says, are generally what we call swarthy complexions, as are the Germans. We have been looking at this German tapestry, you can't get around this, man. Okay? But I don't need to read anymore, because that got to the point. So with that, I think we've proven that Esau, Edom, white history is a lie. There's no such thing as whiteness. It's all a lie. So with that, we're going to give all praises, glory, and honor to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahushai, Bahasham, Rakah, Kodash, Kwam, Yasharallah, Abad, Babal.